Hey guys, it's Katie with S&B, and today we're going to install our particle separator on the 2022 Polaris Pro R. So let's get started. You're going to start off by removing these 4 screws so you can then remove the bed from the vehicle. Next, you're going to remove these 3 screws and these 3 push rivets. There's going to be one last push rivet down here that you'll need to remove as well. Next, you're going to have to remove both of the back seats. The last 3 screws that you'll have to remove to get the panel off are going to be right here, one right here, and then one down at the bottom as well. Now you can remove the panel.
On the 2025 Polaris Pro R, in order to make the S&B wheel well particle separator fit, we have to trim out a little bit of this panel in the fender. We supply an edge trim and a template to do so. So it fits super nice with our S&B particle separator. There's also a second panel underneath. So once you pull this big panel off, you also need to make a cut on this bottom panel. And it's pretty forgiving because it's completely covered by this outer panel. So if you make any mistakes on that part, you won't see it. The template for the outer, larger fender panel is divided into 2 different pages. So we're going to cut along the solid outline of this template right here. And then once we cut it out, you can see there's an alignment dashed line to line up the first and second part of the template. So we're going to go ahead and get started cutting this. So now we have the 2 pieces cut up, and you can align both of them. So everything, all the words, all the arrows are all going to line up on the template. So you'll just put those together, and then you can go ahead and tape that together. So we got the 2 cutouts of the outer fender piece template taped together, and you'll know you've taped it together correctly when all the words and arrows and lines line up together. So if you peel it back, you can see that they're lined up perfectly. There's a dotted line right here. You'll see this dotted line is lined up, and then also all the outer edges are lined up in the arrows. So we know we've got this together. Now when we're going to put this and tape it to the fender piece, we're going to be focusing on 2 main things. The first is this screw hole right here. This hole on the template is going to line up perfectly with the hole on the vehicle. And then this edge of the template is going to line up with the edge of the fender piece where it bends over. The templates you received to make the cutout, to make the particle separator fit with your 25 Pro R, you'll need to cut them out, so there'll be lines on it and it'll tell you where to cut. And then also there will be indicators on how to align it with the trim pieces. So this one, I'm going to focus on the screw hole. I have the X marked spot for that. So it's going to go right over this hole. And then the edge is going to line up with the outside of the trim piece. And you can see it tells you where to make the cut on the part. So I'm just going to tape this down in position and then mark it up and start making the cut. Now I've got the template in position. So I'm going to start marking off where the cut is going to be on this plastic piece. Now I can start cutting it. Now that we've made the cut, we cleaned up the cut and then installed the trim lock along the edge that we cut, like you can see here. These are the templates you're going to receive to trim out the fender panels for the 2025 Pro R. One is for the inner fender support trimming template, and the other one is for the outer panel. So when you're cutting the template out, you're going to cut along the solid lines right here. Just go all the way around and cut that out. So now that you have the inner fender panel cut out, you're going to align it on the vehicle. So this edge right here is going to align with the edge of the wall on the vehicle. And then you will draw on the panel itself along this line to show you where to cut. You're going to line it up on the plastic piece. It's going to have lines for the edge. So I'm going to get that into place. I'm going to tape it down now so I don't have to hold it while I'm doing the other side. And then it's going to fold over the back. And this part's going to fold right here as well. I'm going to tape this down too. So this open area right here is where you're going to need to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it with a Sharpie here. We give a little bit extra room, so it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but I'm going to try to get as close as I can here. There we go. So now I'm going to puncture it and then work my way in to start cutting around this line that I just drew. Now we're going to drill a hole to start it. We put the blue tape around our drawn line so that we could not mark the trim piece as we cut.
Next, you're going to remove this back panel, and you're going to do that by unclipping these 6/4 turn rivets. Loosen a hose clamp attached to the stock air box. Next, you're going to remove these 2 screws so you'll be able to remove the stock side cover. Now you can remove it from the vehicle. Install the bent bracket onto the S&B particle separator and then fully tighten it down. Loosely install the L bracket to the particle separator. Now you're going to loosely install the other L bracket to the particle separator as well. Now you're going to install the 2 clamps onto the roll bar. You're going to install one right below this bracket, and then the other one is going to go right above this weld. Loosely install the pivot bodies on each of the clamps. After you've loosely installed the pivot bodies onto the clamps, you're just going to want to orient them the way that I have here to make it easier to install. Now you're going to install the particle separator assembly onto the vehicle, and using a stock screw, you'll secure it down right here. Okay, once you have the bracket lined up underneath the plastic, you can secure it down and the screw should hold it in place. Using the provided hardware, you can now secure the L brackets into the pivot bodies. Once you have everything loosely installed, you can go back and tighten them all down. When tightening down the two on the pivot bodies, you'll want to push the particle separator up to help raise the straps a little bit. Tighten these two screws on the L bracket. You'll also want to make sure you tighten these two screws as well. Now you're going to install the coupler and clamps onto the intake tube. On the intake side, you'll install the coupler normally, so it hangs over. And then on the particle separator side, you'll make sure you want to push the coupler all the way back so it gives you more room when you install the separator. On your tube, there's going to be an indicator to show you how to line it up. And then once you have it lined up, you can then slide the coupler onto the particle separator. Once you have the tube installed, you can then go ahead and tighten down all the hose clamps. So now we're going to install the main wire harness, and to do that, you're going to want to lift up this console, take out this center piece, and set it to the side. Now you're going to take this end of the wire harness and you're going to put it through a through hole here, and then it should lead to the passenger side near the foot area. Okay. So once you pass it through, you should notice that it's coming out here, and then you're just going to want to pull enough slack so you can have it go through the center console and connect in the back. Now you're going to remove all the screws that are securing the center console together, and if you have a four-seater, you'll remove the ones in the back as well. Remove these two push rivets from the center console. Now you're going to remove all the screws securing the panel underneath the seat. Once you removed all the screws, you can then remove the panel underneath the seats. Once you have all the screws removed from the center console, you should be able to lift it to make it easier to start tucking the wire. If you pass it through this hole right here, it'll make it easier for you to be able to tuck it underneath the bar. Next, you're going to uninstall this gold screw on the ignition sensor so you can install it onto this orange wire. So we push this cover back to give us a little bit more room on the wire. So we push this cover back to give us more access to the wire, and then you can install the ignition sensor and reinstall the clip and screw. Once installed, it should look like this, and then you're going to install 2 zip ties on both sides to keep it in place. Now you can pass the other end of the wire harness through towards the center of the vehicle. Once you have it through, you can then zip tie it to the center bar. Now you're going to get the Y harness and you're going to connect this end to the fan and then route the other two over the tube through here. Now you're going to take the Y harness and you're going to connect it to the other harnesses that you've already installed. So you can take the ignition sensor and the main power. Next, you're going to plug this into the pulse bar, and then any excess wire that you have, you'll just bunch it up, and then you can reinstall the center console. Now that you've connected the wires, you just want to test it and make sure everything runs properly. So when you key on, the fan should come on slightly, and then you can have a friend rev the engine, and as it revs up, the fan should ramp up as well. Now we're going to want to route the wire harness. We want to keep it away from anything hot or moving, and it's always a good idea to route it where there's already wires. So we're going to route it here, put a zip tie over here, stick it on the frame, now you'll just want to bundle any of the excess wire, kind of zip tie it out of the way. All right guys, so that is the install of the particle separator. So the only thing we have left to do is reinstall everything. So you're going to want to make sure you put back on your panels, secure them down, put the seats back in, and reinstall the bed. So if you have any questions or you just want to know more, you can always give us a call or check it out on our website, and I'll see you next time.